From KVUE News in Austin, you're watching Texas This Week with Ashley Goodo.
Good morning, and thank you for watching Texas This Week. After the confusion of March primaries in Williamson and Dallas counties, an Austin lawmaker wants his colleagues at the Capitol to take action. We sit down with State Representative John Bucy, but first, let's get to the 3 things you need to know in Texas politics. The Texas Rangers are now assisting the Department of State Health Services in investigating last July's tragedy at Camp Mystic. 25 girls and their 2 counselors died when the Guadalupe River surged in last summer's floods. A spokesperson for the Texas Department of Public Safety says the Rangers will help investigate the hundreds of complaints filed against the camp. Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick said Republicans are going to have a, quote, tough time holding on to the majority in the Texas House of Representatives come November. He made the comments during the Texas Public Policy Foundation's annual policy summit on Wednesday and urged U.S. Senator John Cornyn and Attorney General Ken Paxton to unite the party after their runoff for Cornyn's seat in May. But Speaker of the Texas House, Dustin Burrows, sang a different song, responding on social media, writing, quote, "We will not lose the Texas House." A Travis County judge temporarily blocked the state's new ban on smokable hemp Friday. The new rules from the Department of State Health Services went into effect on March 31st. They require more testing for THC, coupled with higher licensing fees for retailers and manufacturers. The Texas Hemp Business Council, Hemp Industry and Farmers of America, and several dispensaries and manufacturers sued, saying the agency overstepped its authority trying to rewrite laws passed by the legislature. The judge's order blocks the state's rules until a hearing happens on April 23rd. Last August, Texas House Democrats were hit with fines totaling more than $9,000 for breaking quorum in an effort to stop the legislature from redrawing the congressional district map to favor Republicans. 8 months later, those fines have not been paid. So this week, the House Administration Committee met to talk behind closed doors about what they can do. State Representative John Bucy from Austin is one of the Democrats who hasn't paid the fine. We talked about what could happen next. Those penalties, thousands of dollars that Democrats were fined. Have you paid your fine?
I have not paid my fine yet, and we're going to continue to stand up for the people of House District 136 and of Central Texas community. They wanted me to break quorum. The support that I got from my constituents was through the roof for my actions. I was serving them by making that decision. Obviously, if the fines come, they come. I was never going to be deterred by taking the right action because of the fear of penalty, but I don't think they're just to have these fines against us.
The fines, tell us about it. You know, where was this money supposed to go? And really, what is going to happen if you don't pay it?
We haven't actually gotten word of where this money will go. We think it'll just go into some pot somewhere, and we don't know how it's going to be used. We've been asking these questions. We need more transparency about this process. And what happens if we don't pay it? Then they're going to threaten to start withholding some of our capital budget and punishing staff in the legislature by limiting our budgets until it is paid.
And so do you think that will move the needle for your fellow colleagues?
Well, you know, we're going to ultimately do what we need to do, but I think this is an unjust punishment, and I think we should continue to resist the payment until it's absolutely necessary. I don't want to see my staff get punished. We already supplement them through campaign funds, and we'll do what we need to do to help support them individually.
March primaries in Williamson County, you describe it as?
Oh, it was chaotic. It was disenfranchisement to voters in Williamson and in Dallas counties.
Yeah, and you think that the solution needs to be a change to state law. Tell us about it.
Absolutely. So under current law, both parties have to agree to do countywide voting. And if one party says they don't want to do that, then the other party is also forced to go back to precinct level voting. This is something in Williamson County we've been doing countywide for a decade, in Dallas for not quite as long, but for a long time. Voters have become accustomed to it. You get to vote anywhere in the county, so you have more access to the ballot box. And then overnight that was shifted, and we saw hundreds of voters get turned away by showing up at the wrong spot on both the Democrat and Republican side. So what I want to do is say that each party can be autonomous in their decision making, because right now I get to vote in the Democratic primary for the Democratic Party leadership, but I don't get to vote for Republican leadership. So I can't hold the other side accountable at the ballot box, so they shouldn't be able to control how my party system works. So we want to separate that and let each party make their own decisions.
It seems pretty common sense.
Absolutely.
You know, as some might argue. When you think about what happened on Election Day, that change was just solely on Election Day. As you mentioned, people showing up to the wrong locations. Do you think there was enough communication? Do you think the Democrats maybe should take part of the blame for not communicating the change to voters?
I think we should always do whatever we can to communicate, but the Democrats were held hostage in the sense that this decision was made against their will. They didn't want to do this, and they didn't have the budget or the time to react to the level that they would like to go get the word out about this process. I know the Democratic parties in both areas did do what they could to get the word out, but it's a big initiative. In fact, an example, we had a Republican precinct chair in the Sun City area, so mainly seniors, go knock on 600 doors, tell them the site, and then it shifted at the last minute, and she came and testified before the Williams County Commissioner's Court about how there was no way she was able to get the word out, and then 200 people were turned away because they went to the wrong site. So, you know, trying to do this at the last minute and bring awareness is a really hard challenge that, even though with best intentions by the Democratic parties, they weren't able to get enough word out.
You know, part of the reason why they said this was needed to be done with the Republican Party of Williamson County, I'm not sure about Dallas County's reasons, was for voter integrity, voter security, to ensure that you couldn't figure out someone's ballot and put 2 and 2 together, because that has been done before.
Yeah, unfortunately, what they're really doing is taking a few minor examples and escalating it into the big lie of the Donald Trump election stolen many years ago. Serving as vice chair of the Elections Committee, we see these interactions regularly. A lot of stuff that people hear on social media is not based in fact, but then we have now leaders of these county parties that believe the social media over the reality, over their own elected official class, like the Secretary of State, who talks about how safe and secure our elections are. And now they're trying to pass policies based on rumors and lies from social media. So that's another reason that, you know, the Republican primary voters in Williamson County can hold their party chair accountable at the ballot box, but the Democrats can't. And so if we separate this, they get to make their decisions, they get to be leaders, and then they have to be accountable for their actions.
You know, obviously we're talking about this very early, right? It's April. You can't start to file bills until November for the session that starts in January. What are you going to be doing during this time frame?
Well, right now we wanted to start this conversation because it's present in people's memories. That just went through this in Dallas and Williamson County. So we didn't want to lose the moment why people remember, because a year from now in session, people will be dealing with a bunch of things. So we wanted to start building the energy now, talking about this simple legislative fix. I've been talking to my Republican colleagues. We're going to be talking to senators as well. We've talked to the Secretary of State's office, talking to election administrators, just to make sure everybody's preparing for this and that we can all get this simple fix done quickly when we get into the next legislative session.
And so do you think you're going to get this over the finish line? What have you been hearing?
I feel very confident. Talking to a lot of my Republican colleagues, they agree with the philosophy that one party shouldn't control the actions of the other party when it comes to their primary. So I think it's a pretty simple sell. We're not trying to mandate with this legislation. You've seen examples in the past where people try to force one way of voting or the other. We're saying let each party, who can be held accountable by their voters, make their own autonomous decisions. Again,
and for people who may not remember, this is because the primaries are actually run by the parties, not the clerk, right? Excuse me, not the county clerk.
Absolutely, and I think it's important to remember, because people have asked, what about other parties? It's Republican and Democrat parties specifically, because they do primary voting. The others do convention nominations. So this is impacting Republican and Democratic parties specifically.
As Representative Bucy mentioned, Republicans in both Williamson and Dallas counties have agreed to let the counties handle the May runoff election. That's Texas This Week.